If you're someone that wants to start gym or you want to achieve certain fitness goals, then this podcast is for you. Today in the podcast, we've got a personal trainer from Anytime Fitness and we really talk about what it takes to start up your own fitness journey. This podcast is filled with tons of value and information and tips and tricks that will help you achieve your fitness goals. Now, I know this podcast is 30 minutes long. Well, podcast is something you're not meant to watch, but you're meant to listen. So, if you're driving a car, listen to the podcast, or if you're about to sleep, just put the phone on your bedside table and listen to the podcast. I promise you, from this podcast, you will gain a lot of information, a lot of value, and it might even change your perspective on the way you train. Welcome to the first podcast of this channel.
That's it, man.
And you're the first guest of this podcast.
Proud to be, man.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
bro.
thank you.
You made it.
I don't know how I got here, but
Bro,
I'm here, and that's all that matters.
You made it.
That's it.
Bro, no, you made it.
We're all gonna make it. A wise man once
No,
said.
you made it.
Well, I've made it.
You made it, bro. You made it on the... Anyway,
I
so
made this.
So this is Eddie
That's it.
from Anytime Fitness. He's a PT.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Go
My
ahead.
name's Eddie. Ed. People call me Eddie for short. I work, like you said, as a personal trainer. Anytime Fitness in Craigieburn.
right.
Yeah.
How'd you get into it, man?
So when it comes to personal training, it was always something. It begins with, like, first you got to get into the gym,
Mhm.
right? If you can't get into the gym, obviously you're not going to be a PT. So then
100%.
it's like, how did I get into the gym? I've always been active. You know
Right.
what I mean? Since I was a kid, I was active,
Right.
and then I was 55 kilos when I started, right? And
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm small. I
Right.
want to get bigger.
Right,
And where else can you get bigger than the
right,
gym?
Right, 100%. Yeah. So, I was complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
How'd you start?
We both are athletes. We both train. We both train.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking that, oh no, you have to be
Yeah, nah.
active, nah.
Mm-mm.
I was opposite. Right.
No.
I was trash at every sport that I played. I don't know why, but I just was.
Yeah.
And so I was complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right. What was that point where you're like, okay, you know what? I want to be a PT now.
Well, for me, it was like when I got through that initial phase of training where I'm like, okay, I enjoy this. I found myself outside of training time researching.
Right.
I just realized I'm Googling all the time. How do I bench press? How do I deadlift? And then eventually I took that knowledge and applied it to the people around me.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized I'm pretty much doing personal training now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then the only difference is I'm not getting paid.
You're not getting paid,
Exactly.
and then you're like, how do I get paid?
Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's that part where you're like, my time is being used and I
course,
need money,
Of
you know?
course, yeah. So one main thing that I picked up on this is just it's imperative
Mhm.
to do your research before starting any sports or starting any exercise, right? There's tons of different forms and there's different ways of doing something.
Yeah, there's
Right.
1,000 ways to get
Exactly.
towards the right goal.
Right.
The thing about the fitness industry, and I've heard this a lot, is it's one of the few industries where anyone can be right and anyone can be wrong. Because there's a
100%.
million ways to do it. You know, the way
100%,
I do it's
yeah.
going to be different. Like, if I were to train someone for cardio,
Uh-huh.
it's not going to be the same as the way you do it.
Okay.
100%.
100%,
But
yeah.
they both work.
They both work, yeah.
But
And I
they're
feel like
different.
this is something important that people have to understand
Oh.
is that
Mhm.
there's different ways of doing something.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think a big problem is when a good tip for if you're looking for a trainer and is ask them a question, test their knowledge a bit. Do not be afraid to test the trainer's knowledge a bit,
Uh-huh.
and then see how they answer. If they answer with "This is how you do it," you have to do this. I'm sorry, they're probably not a good trainer.
They have to give
They
reason.
have to give reason, but also
100%.
understand that there's 1,000 ways to do it.
100%, yeah.
Exactly.
And different ways suit different people.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
I would say we were talking before about consistency, and the number one thing about consistency is you have to enjoy it somewhat. If you don't
100%.
enjoy it, you're not going to be consistent.
100%,
I love lifting weights, simple as that. That's
Yeah.
what's keeping me consistent. You love punching, whatever it may be, cardio. That's what's keeping you consistent.
Consistency, 100%,
Exactly.
yeah. So even for myself, I've got a lot of boxing coaches, right? And I love you all if you're watching this, but the ones that I love the most,
Yeah.
or the ones that I prefer training with, are the ones that understand I've got a style,
Mhm.
right? And they improve that style rather than changing that style.
Exactly. Rather than building back up from scratch, they're like,
Exactly.
okay, he is this way.
Right.
Let's optimize that.
Yeah. So if I don't like putting up my hands, I'm not gonna do it. But
Simple
I'm
as
not.
that.
Yeah. I know there's basics and all that kind of stuff, but if my body type is not comfortable, putting your hands like that or like this, I'm not gonna do it.
Exactly.
Right.
And this applies in weightlifting as well. So, for example, basic example, squatting.
Right.
Some people squat really wide stance, super wide. That's what's comfortable. Their hips feel good, knees feel good.
That's the first time we started talking. This guy's so
Exactly.
squat
Oh yeah,
with
so I'm
the-
squatting, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you gotta do this,
Yeah.
move your stance out. Meanwhile, I have some friends who have very short legs, so the femur, their upper leg, very short.
Right.
They squat very narrow, down, up, like that.
Right,
You know,
right.
I'm not gonna say to them, oh, open up your stance. No,
Yeah.
that's just not natural.
It's just not natural.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's one thing. If you guys finding a PT, but this podcast is not about finding a PT.
Well, I
Okay.
mean-
So, but if you're looking for a
Roddy.
PT, anyway, so this podcast is about how to develop a champion mentality.
Yeah.
Right. So in the terms of me and you, we both are athletes. You
Mhm.
train with weights. I train boxing.
Exactly.
Right. It took us quite a bit to get to that mentality, I would say.
100%, yeah.
Right. There's a lot of personal development process. There's a lot of
Persistence.
mental barriers
Yeah.
that you have to get through. And as Eddie said, from 50, 55,
55 to at my heaviest 92.
92.
Yeah.
Right. So what's that journey like?
Oh,
right.
okay,
This is
so-
this is what we're gonna talk about.
Absolutely.
What's that journey like, and what was the hurdles you faced in that journey?
So the first thing I want to say is, I don't want to hear no shit about genetics. No, I'm sure you've heard that as well. My genetics are bad.
Yeah.
I was that kid. I always say it. I think I said this to you the first time we spoke. I was that kid who looked 12 until he turned 18.
Okay.
I looked young as a hell. I looked like 12 until I turned 18 one day. I just grew.
It's all
I was
genetics, bro.
Tiny, huh?
It's all genetics.
It's all genetics, bro. It's like, come on, man. If it was genetics, I never would have gotten to where I am now. It's bullshit. So, genetics are a part, but in terms of your potential to gain weight, your potential to gain muscle, you'll never know until you try. You
Right.
just won't. You won't know.
It's just a mental barrier, man.
Exactly. It's all mental.
It's all
Yeah.
yeah. How do you overcome that?
So
Let's suppose a person is 50.
you're thinking, oh, my metabolism's slow. I'll never, or sorry, fast. I'll
Fast,
never gain weight. What I'd say to you is, it's to say that
Mm-hmm.
means you're implying that you've done everything.
Right.
You've tried everything, which I can guarantee you haven't. I know you haven't tried
100%,
everything.
100%, yeah.
To say that it's kind of insulting because you're thinking like, I've done everything. You haven't though. I know you haven't because I've seen you. You say I eat a lot. No, you don't. You do not eat a lot at all. I've seen what a lot is. A lot is 5,000 calories a day,
Oh.
6,000 calories a day. A lot is eating 3 large pizzas in one sitting.
Okay.
All right. You don't need a lot, so don't give me that shit. You know what I mean? You got. There's that part that I have to be brutally honest with people. I
Right.
can't. I can be nice. I can tiptoe around at first, but eventually I have to tell you, you got to push yourself a bit more.
Right, 100%.
So to get to that point, get through that mental barrier, because that's what it is, man.
It's just a mental barrier. man.
If you get more calories in, you'll gain weight. But to
Right.
get to that point, you have to beat your mind first.
And also, if you treat it as a mental barrier and just keep telling yourself it's a mental barrier, I feel like that thought process is just gonna change by itself.
100%. It's
Right.
naturally everything you have to understand. It's not like everything's a process.
100%.
As one thing gets better, another thing gets better. Everything just fits like a puzzle eventually.
100%, man.
Yeah.
100%. Like, it was so. I started training gym about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right, and it was quite hard. Fuck, I don't know what I'm saying, bro.
It's all part of it, man. You get into it. Man.
Yeah, you
First
let me
episode,
train.
first episode.
Yeah.
No, so I wanted to ask you actually, like, how'd you even get into boxing first off? Because you were saying we had completely different origins, right? I was always active, although I was
Right.
skinny. You were fat ass. You never moved.
Cuz what, bro?
What are you
Like,
calling me out,
what, bro?
So how'd you get into any form of sports?
Okay. How did I get into boxing? That's a really good question.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
It is a very good question.
Very good
The best question so
Best
far.
question of the podcast, bro. I guess, as I said, I was fat, right? I needed something that changed my life. I needed something that changes my life, not changes my life. No English.
No English number one.
Okay, bye. So I needed something that will change my life.
Yeah.
So why did I needed my life to change? It was because we came to Australia about 8 years ago. Right, I started boxing 4 years ago. It's really hard trying to not fit in, but you get the point.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, 100%.
Right, it's just start speaking properly to make new mates and all that kind of stuff, right? So I feel like boxing was a defense mechanism for me, where so I actually don't know how I got into it.
Yeah.
I literally just went up to my dad. I'm like, I want to start up a boxing. Oh, it was actually my dad. He was like, why don't you start up a boxing gym? I mean, not start up a boxing gym. No English again. Why
No
don't you
English?
join a boxing gym?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, all right, sweet. And the first day, I still remember that day. I walked in, and people were shouting, da 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 da. And then the coach was pushing the people, right? Like, go harder, harder, yeah, stop being
Yeah.
a bitch, this, that. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I
Did you
looked
like
at-
that feeling, or were you like, oh shit?
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, this is life.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is. I'm out of words, bro. You know? This is amazing, yeah. And then I just fell in love. It was like love at first visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I started training and got into better shape, and then people started knowing, oh, I'm training boxing and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, you know. I just fell in love with it, and at that time I used to tell people I used to make it to Olympics, right? So I just started boxing, literally 2-3 months ago. I was like, bro, you know, 2020 Olympics, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah, there you go.
And kids used to make fun of me. That's how I was in high school as well.
Yeah.
They used to make fun of me and all. And then I feel like me saying that sentence where I was like, I'm gonna make it to Olympics, helped me a lot.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Even though I didn't make it, I am the Victorian titleist. Right? I won a bronze medal, national bronze medal as well. Yeah. So I feel like
Tell him.
Yeah, bro. So,
represent. Dude.
cause
I'll look you around.
yeah. So if you
Knock me out.
yeah, so I feel like if you have a goal, right, announce it from personal experience.
For sure.
And it's that quote, aim for the stars, and if you don't reach the stars, you might end up in the skies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. That's how I got into boxing, and that's what that's yeah, bro.
No, exactly. So I wanted to ask you, when you got started, so what was the first thing you did? Did you start punching shit, or did you go to a coach?
Okay.
What'd you do?
So it's the same thing with gym,
Mhm.
right? With the gym, you go to a gym, a boxing gym, Olympic Training Center it was.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Free shout out to Olympic Training Center. Mike Glayer, my first coach.
Yeah.
Great coach. Yeah. He saw the potential in me for the very first day. And then it was just in me. Right?
Yeah.
People could see it. It took me time to see it in myself.
Yeah.
Right, as like
Oh,
mental
100%,
barriers and
yeah.
all. And then also question again. I'm waffling.
No, so when you got into the gym,
Oh, what was the procedure?
Yeah, what was the
yeah.
procedure exactly?
So it was like, okay, you start with the basics, the jab. How do you throw a jab? Okay. Start with the basics, how to throw a right hand. Start with the basics, how to throw a hook, uppercut, all that kind of stuff. Then comes the footwork. Alright.
Yeah.
Then comes the head movement. It's a very slow process, right? And then starting, if you're starting a boxing, it hurts. I was thinking of the.
It's true, though.
I was thinking of the right word, bro. I was like,
Same thing.
some proper. I was thinking of a good
straight
word.
up, to be honest, it fucking hurts.
It hurts.
To be honest,
Yeah.
that's how the gym is as well. I mean, people get in this cycle of the gym, right, where they come in for one day, I train them, or they train themselves, they get sore, and they're like, oh, I'll wait till the soreness goes away to train again. No. You need to go in while you're
Right.
sore, or else it'll just keep happening.
100%.
They'll just-
So your muscles,
It
they,
Yeah.
True.
They gotta get used to it.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
conditioning.
And how do you get used to it? By keep doing it.
Doing it more.
Yeah. So if it hurts, it's meant to hurt.
Exactly.
Right.
It's the muscles. It's not
No
like your
pain, no
bone.
gain.
Exactly. It's not like your bones breaking. It's your muscles. They get
Exactly.
tired.
Right.
That's all it is.
So yeah, like, and then I fell in love with the pain.
Yeah. No, same.
Yeah.
I had the
Like-
same experience where I was like, this soreness, it felt good. It was like something good was happening.
Mhm.
And then I was like, I want to get back into the gym. I trained chest the other day. Of course, I can do back now.
Mhm.
I can do back. I can do legs. And there's always something to train.
Right, 100%, yeah. And that's what I find fascinating about gym,
Yeah.
is that if you work on bars and tries like me or every time,
And the next day you do
Yeah.
buys and tries
And
again.
the next day, anyways, if you work on buys and tries, right,
Yeah.
the next day you can work on legs, I suppose. I never work
Exactly.
on legs, but
Yeah.
anyways,
we don't talk about that.
we don't talk about the legs, but I will put it there.
Cabs, why do you think the table's here? It's his idea.
You can work on your back, and then you
Yeah.
can work on all that kind of stuff. That's very thing.
Yeah.
So what that means is for example, if your common stuff, common sense, if your biceps are hurting, just do back the next day. Or,
Yeah, do back,
or
do triceps,
I'll let the
do
PT.
legs.
I'll let the PT talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna-
So it depends on how you structure your training, right? Generally, when you're just beginning at the gym, my goal is to just get you in the gym. I'm not gonna be like, do this 3 times a week. That's gonna overwhelm you.
Right.
If you go, I always say, if you go 0 to 100, you're gonna crash.
Uh-huh.
100%. You
Yeah.
can't go 0 to 100 and optimize everything in a week. So I'd say, start with just do something. Next day, do something else. Next day, do anything. I don't care what it is. Look at the machines.
Research.
I'll tell you right now, the people who have made the biggest gains in whatever it is, cardio, strength,
me.
muscle. Well, yeah,
Like me.
it's still early, but I believe in you. The people who make the biggest gains are the ones who, when I'm not there, push
Mhm.
themselves.
Right.
When I'm not
Oh,
there, research.
Yeah. So yesterday you were talking. So I was doing cardio.
Yeah.
And you saw me doing cardio, and
It's a
you came up-
beautiful sight.
Yeah, and then so you came up to me, and then you're like, so you came up to me, and then you're like, I know exactly the people that
Will drop off within a week or won't drop.
Make it.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, you make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
So why'd you say that? What did you look?
Because you didn't come into the gym going, oh, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I'll just fuck around. You didn't. You were like, hey, you're like, what are you training? I'm like, I'm doing bench. I'm like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm doing cardio today. Today's
Mhm.
meant to be my day off, but you still came in. That's
Mhm.
another thing. It was your day off, but you still came in.
Right.
And then you just went in. You had your headphones on. You didn't go, oh, I don't know. What am I doing today?
Yeah.
You went in and got your shit
talk
done.
more about the training. How was the training?
Bro,
like?
you were just on that treadmill. What was it, 4K and...
So my best for my cardio, I used to do 4K in 17 minutes,
Yeah.
right? And then so that was after ages I started training again.
Yeah.
I didn't compete this whole year because of personal reasons,
Mhm.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Life was pretty
Personal
hard.
Circumstances. Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't train. I still trained. I was working on my skills, developing on my skills, but I wasn't training in the gym. So my best record is around 4K in 17 minutes,
Yeah.
right? And yesterday I did 4K in 22 minutes.
Oh shit! Well,
Right.
There you go. And I saw him at the end. What I noticed as well was something that people who I know develop the champion mindset do is he pushed himself so hard at the end. I heard grunting. I was like, what the fuck was grunting? I'm the
Yeah.
only one lifting heavy here. Why is anybody else grunting? And I look over, this guy's on a treadmill running.
Yeah.
As though there's a murderer behind him.
Yeah.
Like
So this is one thing that boxing taught me was finishing strong.
100%.
Whatever you do good, but the last round, the final 30 seconds, that's where you make the impact.
Yeah, it's endurance, man. That's what it is.
Right.
But endurance, it's so hard to keep pushing yourself for a long period of time.
100%.
You know, in weightlifting, right? So think about a squat, right? So in a squat, it's a completely different dynamic where you're like, I want to start strong
Mm-hmm.
and then end strong because it's very short. You do one rep and you're done.
Mhm.
You know, as opposed to doing a 14, 15, 20-minute match or run or something. Yeah, it's a way different dynamic. So it's interesting that you're pointing out how you talk about finishing strong, which in weightlifting, because it's a lot shorter, the duration of whatever the sport may be, weightlifting, powerlifting, I always yell at people. I'm always saying, start strong, end strong. If you start like shit, you're going to end like shit. 100%, right?
Yeah.
If you put that bar on your back to do a squat and that bar is not properly set on your back, you're probably going to fail the rep. Or you're just going to do shit. Whereas for you, it's more like, you know, when you're at that last part of the run, push yourself. That's when your mind has to...
Last part
Exactly.
of the thing. So something I want to talk about over here, right, is this mentality. So the podcast is about champion mentality, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the last 10 minutes of the podcast, let's touch about the champion mentality. How do we develop it? What skills? We both train like animals.
Yeah, 100%. We're both like going
Right.
crazy in the gym.
Right.
100%. But smart. But smart.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to get hurt.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Peter, if you got any
that's the one thing. That's like I'm like the parent where it's like he'll be like, yeah, fucking do whatever, but I'm like, but don't get hurt. If you get hurt, you can't train.
So the champion mentality.
Yeah.
Okay, what is champion mentality? Champion mentality is simply not giving up.
Exactly.
Right. When the circumstances are hard. Right.
Yeah.
When you feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
When you feel pain, that's when you push even harder.
100%. So to me, the champion mentality is knowing that when shit gets hard, it's just another obstacle to beat. That's all it
100%.
is. It's not like, oh, well, this is it. Time to pack your shit and go
Yeah.
home. No,
So-
this is where you really got to push yourself, and then you know in your heart, this is after that hurdle, you're gonna come out stronger. You know, the thing is, most people get through one bad week or even one bad training session, and they're like, "That's it, I'm retiring." It's like, no. If you where you push through that is where you're gonna see the most gains in
100%.
any way, cardio,
Yeah.
strength. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. But that's something a very important point that you touched on,
100%,
right?
yeah.
Is that if you have a one bad training session, that does not mean you're bad at the sport or you can't.
No.
That just means you're maybe tired or you didn't have the proper diet.
It could be a million things,
Right.
man. Dehydration, tired,
And-
mindset, music. Sometimes it's the music.
Exactly.
Literally just
And
the
it
song.
took me time to understand that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way I accepted it is by actually recording it and sending it to my mates, right?
100%.
So I made it solidified in my brain, so I know that okay, just because one training session was bad or one sparring session was bad does not mean that I'm a bad boxer,
Yeah.
right? I'm the best boxer.
And there's no one better. I mean, the numbers show it.
Bro.
So I'd add to that. I'd say like, I do something similar with the recording. I'll record a squat or a deadlift or a heavy rep. Because usually you do a heavy rep and it feels like shit, and you're like, God damn it, I've had a horrible day. Training session's bad. What's the point? Why do I even bother? Now from there you have two choices from there. You quit, or you realize, okay, I need to use this to motivate me to keep going. You have those two choices. If
Yeah.
you quit, fine, quit.
Yeah, 100%.
Or you can just push yourself. and
What's
keep
the
going.
word, bro? I'm out of my word list.
Was it
For the-
persistent?
No. For the podcast, I've used all my words live.
We have a dictionary.
Where's my-
Where's that
It's a
thesaurus?
word where you look at it
Mhm.
and then you do better English, right?
Analyze, perspective. What do you mean? What's the word? that
Wait,
we're
let me
looking
search
for?
it up.
Search it up. Google. Google. Hello Siri. No, what is it?
Anyways,
Nah.
yeah. So you look at a mistake or
Yeah.
not a mistake. You first find out why aren't you feeling that way?
Yeah, be objective about it, man. Realize
Right.
that there is a reason. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then what you do is you find solutions. So you have a problem and you have a solution.
Exactly.
Right, so a problem in boxing can be, okay, I lack cardio.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what's the solution? Start doing cardio.
Exactly. You want to get better at something, do it more.
There's a
That's
solution for every problem. Did I say that right?
Yeah, there's also a problem for every solution.
That's not a champion mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to just like quit because it got hard once.
Yeah.
That's not.
No, I was talking about that's not a champion mentality. As in, if you're a person that creates a problem for every solution there is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
I feel like that's something. No.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't. You should just know, be able to honestly assess
Yeah.
everything.
What do you think about the people that say the champion mentality that we're talking about? They say it's just in you. It cannot be.
That's an
developed.
interesting one, right? So it's like, are you born with it? Are you not? I think to an extent, some people just have it more. They have that mindset of like, just they could run their head into a brick wall a million times and come out through it somehow. Like they have that mindset. I definitely think it can be taught though. 100%.
How do you teach or what's the procedure?
This is where it gets deep, right? So it depends. Like sometimes people just have had bad experiences as a kid that really prevent it, and those people maybe never will develop it because they don't want to. They had bad
I reckon
experiences.
self-esteem is a huge part of it.
100%. You have to believe. So the number one thing, this is one principle I always bring up: honesty. And I'm not saying you being honest to me. I'm saying be honest with yourself.
100%.
Do you actually believe what you're doing is the right thing?
100%.
When you go to sleep, put your head on that pillow. Do you believe in what you're doing?
100%.
Are you lying to yourself every day? Are you when people say, going back to what we were saying before, people say, "Man, I eat a lot." You can lie to me and say that, but you know at night you're not eating a lot. You know what I mean? Honesty is the number one thing.
So number one step to develop a champion mentality is to be honest.
100%. Be honest about everything you do. And if you have a coach, if you like your coach, be honest with them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your coach, if they see you're lying, let me tell you right now. when you lie to your coach, when you do all that shit, your coach is gonna be fed up one day and be like, okay, fuck off. Obviously, they'll be a bit nicer about it. They'll be like, okay, I'll find someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
100%.
gotta be honest with yourself. Tell them everything you're doing, what you're eating, the way you feel, how your training is going, man. If you're lying to yourself, you're only cheating yourself.
Because training is just not a pack. It's not just training. It's a package.
100%. It's
Right?
everything.
You really have to put aside your past experiences.
Yeah.
Right. You have to. Number one thing is open up
Yeah.
to yourself.
Oh, definitely.
Be honest to yourself. Number two, I feel like it's very important to stop making excuses.
Oh, for sure, man.
Right.
There's a difference between an excuse and realizing why you failed, right? So, an excuse,
100%.
you know what I mean? People
Yeah.
kind of see those. Like, if I fail a lift and I go, oh, my back it didn't stay tight, so I was squatting and my back didn't stay tight. That's not an excuse. That's me realizing, that's me acknowledging my back is a weakness. But if I fail a squat and go, oh man, like my dog got sick, that's a bullshit excuse. That's nothing to do with why you failed this squat.
100%.
It's because you gotta acknowledge your weaknesses and move forward. And I always tell people the ways you're gonna make the most gains are from your weaknesses, acknowledging your weaknesses, and improving your technique. Now, how do you do those two things? Well, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest and be able to tell yourself, my technique is shit. I need to rebuild it. Nobody wants to admit. Like, think of, I did this to you yesterday. Nobody wants to admit they're weak somewhere. Like when I said to you, your back's weak yesterday. Remember? You're like, oh, thanks. Remember? It was like your back is weak. You got to work on your back.
Yeah, that was the day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday.
Get your
That was it.
facts
Yeah.
right, bro. Get your facts right.
I'm lying, dude.
Bro, you didn't have to tell that over there, bro.
So like, I tell people, I'll say straight up to someone. It's probably something I shouldn't do as much. I'll straight up. If I see a weakness in you, I'll be like, "That's bad.
100%.
Fix that shit."
But at the same time, you gotta balance it out with okay. So there is weaknesses, but there's positives as well.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
So for example, if
You have your strengths.
if you started with 90 kg and then you're down to 70, there's of course no one's perfect, right? There's of course gonna be a scope for improving yourself, but at the same time, go treat yourself, right?
Yeah.
Be happy.
Look at the
your,
big picture.
of
Did
your
you make
results.
progress?
Macro.
There you go.
So let's suppose there's someone that either wants to lose weight or they either want to gain weight, right? What's the steps and procedures, in your opinion, that needs to be applied?
So I say the first thing is, like you said, weight loss, weight gain. Have a goal. If you have a goal, think about a boat going somewhere with no map.
Right.
So the point is, God knows where it's going to end up.
Right.
You need a clear goal.
Right.
Then I'd say the second thing, which I think we touched on earlier, was being honest with yourself.
Right.
Be honest about when you say, I have people come up to me all the time, right? They say, oh, I'm barely eating anything. Then I look at their diet and they're still eating a lot. And they're like, why am I not losing weight? I'm like, be honest with yourself.
Right,
you know in your heart you're not eating.
And how do you become honest with yourself? I reckon the way to be honest is by acceptance, right? To really accept yourself or who you are as a person. What's the problems and what's the solutions of it, right? If you're not comfortable being honest to others, just be honest to yourself. Like, you're not gonna judge yourself, right? So 100%, the first thing to start the gym is to
have a goal.
Have a goal. Either you want to lose weight, you want to gain weight,
muscle strength, boxing, whatever it may be.
100%,
It could be anything.
and it's got to be smart goals in the sense in what time frame I want to accomplish that in. Yeah, I feel like that's very important.
That's a good way to do it in the grand scheme of things. But when people start, I just want you to have something.
Right.
You know, weight loss, just simply weight loss. Let's say it is, and then from there, as they come into the gym more, then we'll develop.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
The second thing is acceptance or being honest to yourself.
Yeah.
The third thing to start gym or any kind of sports is do not think what people are saying, right?
Yeah.
I get so many messages on my Instagram, people telling me, look, I'm skinny, do you think I can box? I'm too short, do you think I can box? You know, stuff like that. And then I always send them this quote, right? Every single time which goes like you don't have to start to be great. Wait.
You know, I knew you were gonna get it.
Okay. Okay.
You didn't have to be great to start.
You don't have to be. Yeah. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Right. You shouldn't care about what people are thinking about you. Right.
Yeah.
If you're just shy to go to the gym, then I don't know how we can help you.
Yeah. So when
Right.
it comes to, I always tell people, look, at the end of the day, I can give you all the pieces to the puzzle, but you have to start to put it together yourself. I
100%.
can't pick you up and throw you into the gym. I can
100%.
try and motivate you in every way, but if you're not coming to the gym, there's nothing I can do about that.
100%.
Yeah.
So this podcast is for people that are looking to develop a champion mentality. The people that are looking to start up a gym, not start up a gym, but join a gym.
Yeah.
Again, no English.
Exactly. No English.
Literally
Nah,
all
I
gone.
think honestly, if I had to sum this up, I'd say one thing is be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
For the love of God, be honest with yourself. You know, we all know our weaknesses, what we're lying about, but we hide them. Why? Because we're scared of hurting our ego and we're scared of hurting whatever idea we have of ourselves in our head.
100%.
And going back to what you're saying about caring about what other people think, the only reason you should care about what other people think is if you're not being honest with yourself and you don't believe in yourself.
100%.
You don't believe that you're capable of losing weight.
So it all links back to together.
It's
right?
all one big process, man. It's all one
100%,
big
yeah.
process.
And also seeing results takes time. I understand that as well. It takes time to lose weight. It takes effort, pain, hard work, starving yourself. Okay? Not really. Probably won't agree to this. But, that's
yeah, we
how-
have different methodologies.
Yeah, that's how I lose weight. I start. Bro, last time I ate was yesterday.
Yesterday, like,
I'm trying to
dude.
lose weight. But
Yeah.
it works for me. I starve myself, and it works for me, right? So that comes back to whatever works for you, right?
Exactly.
But again, if there's a professional at End Time Fitness,
Nick Krager,
at
yeah, I'd
Krager-
say having an outside. So a good way to get through those initial hurdles is, and not. I know I'm a trader, but this isn't necessarily to plug myself, but have an outside perspective, an outside eye, because I'm honest with all my clients. If I see my client lying about something or cheating themselves, I'll say to them, stop
100%.
that right now, because I know they won't say it to themselves.
Mhm.
But I have to be there and be like, stop,
100%,
you're doing
yeah.
that wrong, do this. And people appreciate that honesty. People appreciate, they know, they'll get mad at you at first, they'll tell you to fuck off, but they go, God damn, but he's right. I know he's right."
they'll think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It stays with them when they're at home, when you're not with them.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
No worries, man.
being the first person to
Come onto the
bro, this
podcast.
is my first time
I
on the
should be the
podcast here.
interviewer,
I'm
man.
not camera shy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I'm not camera shy at all. I love cameras. I love looking at cameras.
Yeah.
I look good in cameras. I'm a good looking guy.
So humble. That's my
Yeah.
favorite thing about him.
I've
He's
got
so
my profile on shadi.com if you want to know.
Yeah.
You don't know what that is.
What is it?
Shadi.com.
What's that? It's
It's
like
like
some
a
Pakistani dating.
marriage
I knew it.
You know me, bro.
I know.
Nah, but yeah, especially my father. So yeah, it's just first time, right? So
100%.
with time, these podcasts are gonna improve.
Yeah.
The sound quality is gonna improve.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I apologize if
if I heard anyone with the ears.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm thinking is, I'm really curious. I'm very grateful to be here right now, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
but
you,
what I'm
man.
thinking of already, and this is something you could apply in the gym, is thinking ahead. I'm like, man, what's this gonna be like in a month, in a
Right.
year from now? When I
100%.
want to come back and I want to
100%,
see what
yeah.
it's like, where we're
And
both gonna be.
even if one person starts gym by watching this podcast, just
That's
one,
all I care
that's
about.
what we are.
That's what I want, man.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Because we know exactly how gym can change your life. or
changes
how
everything.
Training, yeah. So if
Absolutely.
you want, so please tell me if you started gym because of this
Yeah.
podcast.
Let us
That
know.
will make my month.
We'll give you $1,000, right?
Mm,
Oh,
but-
he's pussying out.
Bro, I was thinking we'll give them $2,000.
I was thinking $500,000, bro. We'll take
Alright.
you out to dinner.
Thank you so much for watching
Yeah.
the podcast. If you
Or
are-
listening if you're on the train.
yeah,
Wherever
or,
you are.
or looking at us.
Yeah, just watching, no audio. Just watching the
Because I
video.
don't even know if we're recorded or not.
yeah.
Yeah, we might have to do this again.
Oh, let's try it
Alright,
again.
thank you so much, bro. I'll see you
Anytime.
guys in the next podcast.
That's it, man. Thank you. Ding, ding, ding. That's it, man.
That's it, bro.
I'm down to come back anytime.
Yeah.
Do this again. Because I'm curious what it's going to be like. I'm serious. I'm curious what it's going to be like in the future. Definitely.
Bro, as soon as this is
gonna be like
That. Yeah?
yeah, bro.
Tag me, bro. Tag me. Plug me.
That was good stuff.
Yeah. No, that was good, man. Like, part of it is like,
I reckon better than what I expected.
oh, for sure. I reckon it's like,
In same time as
Yeah.
value.
I think it's going to be good to see the progress. Like,